Well,
what's the difference between a righteous and a good man?
They would
there is no difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly not enough of a difference for this to be.
Yeah.
But what if you put it in the context of the Good Samaritan, where you have a righteous man who steps around the man, and you have a good man who comes by and helps the man that's on
Okay.
Or the opposite. You could call the righteous man the one who stops.
Right, I don't understand
the
the equivalent. I mean,
you can think
what's
of
the
that
difference
either way.
between a good man and a righteous man? But there are some discrepancies.
Okay. But this is what happens if you take into account Syriac. Now this is what Syriac looks like. This is actually obviously an ancient manuscript, and that's what that language looks like. All right. So let's look at a particular word here. Now, the only difference between these words is one letter.
Slanted.
Yeah, slanted.
Yeah.
And you read from right to left. It's just
longer.
and if we go back to this one, now looking for this being the big difference.
Right.
See how easy it would be to not see that.
See that? Yeah.
Yeah, no
Okay?
kidding.
All right. Now, this word is reshe. This is the same letters as Hebrew. This is a resh, shin, yud, nun, aleph. Reshayana. Okay? That means innocent. Or righteous, the righteous man. You would hardly give your life for the Reshayana man. But what if this is the word that they were copying? And he reads along and he goes, oh, Reshayana, oh, I know that word. Copies it down. Righteous, innocent, whatever, blameless. But that was the word. And the only difference is this tiny little bit, which I've blown up to make it even more obvious. But this word, Reshaya, means wicked.
Wow.
Big difference.
Oh, yeah.
And so if we assume that that was really the word, then the verse says, for one would hardly give his life for a wicked man, though for a good one one might possibly do.
Good man, one might possibly dare.
Well, if you look at the whole context, then
it changes it completely.
yeah, because up here in the verses above, it's talking about look what Messiah did for us.
Right.
He died for us, and it even makes more sense now if you understand this, because it says he died for us while we were still wicked.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
But if you are a Greek scholar and you say Syriac, Shmiriac, I don't care, then you'll never make that happen.
This is so sad because it does make such a big difference.
I think it does. Now, is it doctrine changing? No. But is it a big difference? I think worthwhile to know? I think so. Okay.
Wow.
So, enough about translation. I didn't even talk about what translation is. Translation, we always apply it to language, but actually the word translation just means moving something from one place to another, which is why you'll sometimes hear people say when someone dies, they've been translated, right? Their soul's been translated to the next place, whatever. It just means moved. When we apply it to language, we're talking about moving one language into another, or the meaning of one language into another. That's translation as applies to language. But now we're going to look at transliteration, which is not moving meaning, but just moving letters, moving sounds. So if someone's name, you might try to keep it the same because it's their name. But what if your language doesn't have the same sounds as the other language? Therefore, you don't have a letter that can make those sounds. Then what do you do? So that's what we're going to look at briefly. Let's start with a good name. All right? Now, this, as we've seen before, is his name, Yeshua. Okay? So let's say I know his name is Yeshua, and I'm writing it in Greek. Well, in Greek, there's no Y. There's no Y. So you don't have Y. So from the first letter, I got a problem. There's also no sh. Not only not a letter that says sh, no combination of letters that says sh. So the first half of his name I don't even get. I can't use yesh. I can say oo, kind of. But then, and ah, I can say ah. So let's see what they did. well, we know Yeshua. If I was going to go directly from there into English, we do have a Y, and we can say sh. So I can actually say Yeshua in English. But now we're going to look at Greek. Well, I'm restricted, and so I've got E-A, and if I say that fast, I kind of get the Y sound, yay, right?
Yay.
And then su, I can't say sh, so I'm limited to s. So I've got Yesu,
Yeah, okay.
And they always put an S on the
and they always slap an S on the end. So you got to have that. Jesus. Jesus. Okay? But that's not his name. His name's not Yeshu, it's Yeshua. And there's certainly an in Greek. So how come it doesn't say Yezuas?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because in the Galilee, they never pronounced the final ayin. They didn't pronounce it. So they called him Yeshu. They didn't call him Yeshua. His disciples, they called the Galileans, including all his disciples and his family, would have always called him Yeshu. So I think that's probably how we end up with Yezu, with an S smacked on the end. Jesus. So that's, I just think that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But there's no reason otherwise for it not to say Yezuas, because you have Ezeas. That's perfectly possible. So, now we've gone from Hebrew to Greek, and then along come the Romans, and they want their copies in Latin. So that's how they would say it, Jesus, right? We're going to look at some sacred names. We don't need OU, we can just say U, Jesus. So that's how we get it. Then later on, in Latin, because we're using that alphabet to write other languages now, we end up having to incorporate other sounds, and so we actually want the Y sound all by itself, and so we invent that letter, Y, which wasn't J like we use it today. When it was invented, it was like a Y, Y. So it's the same pronunciation, Jesus, and then you've got people reading this who do have a J, and they say Jesus. So that's how we go from Yeshua to Jesus. It's logical.
Mm-hmm.
So that's transliteration. Sacred names. Christos, that's how it was written before they invented small letters in Greek. And also before they had the zigzaggy sigma. This is a different kind of a sigma here. It looks like the letter C. They call that a lunar sigma, like the crescent moon. And that's how they usually write, in at least in sacred writings. So you've got Christos there, which is Christ, anointed. Well, look very closely at the very first two letters. If you don't want to write the whole thing out, because it's too sacred, and you just want to symbolize it, you might take just the first two letters and smack them on top of each other and get that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's just Christ, or Christos. And this is another way of doing it. You've got Jesus, right? The first letter and the last letter only. Christos, first letter and last letter. So these are some of the abbreviations that you'll see just based on that. And the other thing means conquers death or something like that. So there's a sacred name on the cross. Let's look at that a little closer. And what's going on here is actually the first three letters of his name. And there they are. In Latin, because it's a direct copy of the Greek. And this isn't an H. Remember when we looked at it, that letter kind of looks like an N, actually. Kind of looks like an N, or it looks like, if you put the stem up a little higher, it looks like an RH, or small h. And then this is that final sigma, so Yezu, Yez, those are the first three letters. Yezus. So that's just an abbreviation. And this is actually where we get the statement, Jesus H. Christ. That's where it comes from.
Oh, really?
Because it looks like an H in the middle, right? And it looks like Jesus Christ with an H in the middle.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
That was one my dad used all the time.